Long before roads and automobiles became the dominant way to travel, much of life in Thailand revolved around the water. What appears today as a colorful tourist attraction was once an important part of Siam's transportation and trading network. Welcome to the floating market, a living reminder of a time when canals served as the highways of everyday life. Millions of visitors come here for the food, the atmosphere, and the photographs. But look a little closer, beyond the souvenir stalls and the boats drifting along the canals. You will find stories of remarkable engineering, generations of local wisdom, and a way of life that has endured for more than a century. Today, on Infinite Tales, we journey beneath the surface of one of Thailand's most famous floating markets to uncover 3 hidden stories waiting to be told. Are you ready to travel through the waterways of history? Let's begin.
Today, floating markets can be found across Thailand. Each has its own character, traditions, and local stories. But for this journey, we are visiting one of the country's most iconic floating markets, Damnoen Saduak. At first glance, the waterways surrounding the market appear completely natural. But the canal that gave birth to this community was carefully constructed by human hands. In the 1860s, during the reign of King Rama IV, water remained the most important transportation network in Siam. To improve travel and trade between regions, a major canal project was commissioned, connecting 2 important river systems.
Stretching more than 30 kilometers, the canal transformed the surrounding landscape and opened new opportunities for settlement and agriculture. Communities began to grow along its banks. Fruit orchards flourished, and boats carrying fresh produce traveled toward Bangkok through an expanding network of waterways. What we see today as a floating market began as something far more practical, a place where people exchanged goods, built communities, and connected their lives through the water. Long before it became a destination for visitors from around the world, it was already an essential part of everyday life. To understand the floating market we see today, we must travel back to a time before tourism arrived. For generations, the people of Damnoen Saduak lived simple lives along the canals. Many families worked in orchards and vegetable gardens, growing tropical fruits that thrived in the fertile land surrounding the waterways. Because homes, farms, and communities were connected by canals, boats became part of everyday life. Operating a kitchen from a narrow wooden boat requires experience, balance, and remarkable familiarity with life on the water. Large cooking pots, coffee kettles, baskets of fruit, and daily supplies all add weight to the vessel. Every item must be placed carefully to keep the boat stable while moving through the canal. It is not knowledge learned from textbooks. It is knowledge learned through experience, passed down from parents to children, and preserved through everyday life on the water. In many ways, the floating market is more than a place of trade. It is a place where traditions, skills, and local wisdom continue to survive. When most visitors think about a floating market, they often notice the boats first, the colorful fruit, the food, the photographs. But hidden within these everyday scenes is a way of life shaped by generations of experience. Take a closer look at the traditional hat worn by many vendors. Known as a ngab, it is more than a cultural symbol. Its lightweight design helps provide shade from the tropical sun while keeping the wearer cool throughout the day. A simple idea, refined through centuries of practical use. But perhaps the most remarkable skill can be seen in the way vendors move across the water, with one hand guiding the boat and the other serving customers. preparing food, or handling goods. They perform tasks that require coordination, balance, and years of experience. For generations, people living along these canals learned to adapt their lives to the rhythm of the water. And even today, that knowledge continues to survive. Not in museums, not in textbooks, but in the everyday routines of the people who keep these waterways alive.
Today, floating markets attract visitors from around the world. But beneath the colorful boats and the lively atmosphere, they continue to tell the story of a time when waterways shaped everyday life in Thailand. A story of adaptation, a story of community, and a story of knowledge passed from one generation to the next. Perhaps that is why floating markets remain so fascinating today, not simply because they are beautiful, but because they remind us how people learn to live in harmony with the world around them. Thank you for joining Infinite Tales. And if you believe that every place has a story waiting to be discovered, then our journey is far from over. Until next time, in the next story.